He even got the COVID booster vaccine, meaning the doctor gave him the shot not knowing that it was in there. They literally just slipped it in there.
They do that at Walter Reed to presidents all the time.
On a serious note, though, Brandy, how, I guess, scared should we be? 1,000 more people laid off in the dead of night. Already, they had kind of taken the chainsaw to our federal public health infrastructure. Where are we right now?
I will say I started getting calls late last night from CDC folks, and these are among the most patient, thoughtful, scientific minds in the country, in the world. And people who are saying to me things like, we're effed, and the CDC is dead, the CDC is over. So like these are not hyperbolic people, and that is what they think. They think that they can no longer legitimize this organization, and it's done and it's dead. I will say, initially, the offices that were cut included the Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, all of the leadership office, all the leaders just cut. The Global Health Center also abolished. People working on Ebola in Africa, people working on measles in this country, which is still spreading, which kids in South Carolina and Minnesota are quarantined because it is spreading everywhere. They were let go. The MMR, the morbidity and the CDC's journal was, everybody was let go. These like wide sweeping cuts. However, literally just 5 minutes ago, I got a call from an HHS official that said, oops, we didn't actually mean to do that. So about 50% of those people are about just any moment now about to get notices that say, y'all can come back, actually.
They're going to be rehired.
Literally.
Didn't this happen before? A bunch of firings and they had to bring a lot of people back.
It did happen. And so that's what I said to this official. I said, excuse me, sir. So what you're telling me seems to suggest that this is the most chaotic Health and Human Services Administration, and no one at CDC can be sure if their job is safe or if it's not. Allegedly, he told me it was because of an administrative coding error in human resources, a group that they also slashed in these cuts. And so that is why. So we'll just have to see. As of now, most of these people are fired. As of tomorrow, maybe they'll all be hired back. You don't know with this administration.
I think precision is generally a good thing when it comes to our Department of Health and Human Services and scientific leadership within the country, but it doesn't seem to be very well-run ship these days.
Well, it's hard to say.
On brand for the administration.
But and it's hard to believe them because they lie a lot. They say things that aren't true. They say that there's this overwhelming evidence that Tylenol in pregnancy causes autism, which just is not true. And so, there's a laundry list of things that they've lied to us about. So now that we're not sure, are they reacting to public pressure? Are they reacting to media attention about these sweeping cuts? Or is it really an administrative coding error? It's just impossible to say.
Let me play for you Donald Trump on Thursday talking about his health. And then let's kind of talk a little bit about the conspiracy theories out there. But watch this.
I think I'm in great shape, but I'll let you know. But I have no difficulty thus far. Is there wood around here? Knock on. No difficulty. And one of the doctors said he's almost never seen a perfect score. I had a perfect score. I got the highest score. And that made me feel good.
So Trump's been claiming that he's healthy, although we have seen bruises on his hands. We've seen his swollen ankles. He's been seen dozing off a few times over the past couple weeks. We should note this was his second routine appointment this year to Walter Reed. We spent a lot of time talking about President Biden's health throughout the course of his term. He is the oldest president this country has ever had when he was sworn in, and we're a year into it, and his health seems to be taking a toll. I'm curious to get your thoughts, because I know you track this in social media world and what's kind of out there percolating around his health and how's he doing. I think also a lot of people were surprised a couple of weeks ago when J.D. Vance said, out of the blue, he's like, I'm ready to step in as president if need be. And everybody's like, well, wait a minute, that's a bit of a weird thing to say.
I mean, this is an incredibly polarized politically polarized time. And so especially what you see online is just the extremes of that. So during Biden's administration, people were on the right were saying that Biden had a body double, that he was dead, that it was weakened at Biden's, it was that sort of thing. But a lot of people actually believed that, right? That he wasn't just in ill health, he wasn't just very old, which he was, but that he was actually dead or had been replaced or that Obama was pulling the strings. Now, I think you have, those things are true that you said, right? But we have to look at it and say, listen, the man seems to be doing a lot of events. He seems pretty chipper in terms of age to me. And all we know is, but what we do know is that the people on the left, or just people who don't like Donald Trump, are taking all these things and red stringing them and saying that this means he's unwell. I think we just don't know. But people.
Okay, well, let me add, fair enough. But do you believe that the stuff that is being put out by the administration? Because the White House claims that guy is 6'4" and 234 pounds. And I can tell you, he does not look like Patrick Mahomes, because those are Patrick Mahomes numbers. And Donald Trump does not look like a starting quarterback for a Super Bowl winning team.
Over 1,000 employees across the Department of Health and Human Services were notified late Friday that they'd lost their jobs. But then many of those fired began receiving suddenly these emails that were communicating that despite the earlier notice, they would no longer be let go. Confusing, right? Well, there's more to it. An HHS official also told MSNBC that around half of the firings were done in error. Vice President J.D. Vance was asked about the firings today, and one word kept coming up repeatedly about the fallout from the government. Shutdown. Watch this.
The government shutdown inevitably leads to some chaos. We are figuring out how to take money from some areas and give it to other areas. That chaos is because Schumer and the far left Democrats shut down the government. That is going to lead to some chaos. In that moving things around, there is some chaos, but there's going to be chaos. We're dealing with a terrible, chaotic situation.
Joining us now to discuss is Dr. Vin Gupta, MSNBC medical contributor, pulmonologist, and former consultant for the World Bank Pandemic Emergency Financing Facility. Dr. Gupta, thanks so much for being here. First of all, what's your response to this so-called chaos that the vice president keeps talking about, right? What do you think about that? What do you think about the layoffs from HHS and everything that we're about to continue to expect?
Well, good evening. First off, I should say that this is having an impact. Whether these layoffs are rescinded or not, I think everybody needs to know that there's been a reduction in force in the CDC and across HHS that it happened over the last few months. And so a lot of people have lost their jobs, almost over 10% of the workforce. This is additional injury on top. So even if these people are being given back their jobs, half of them, what happens to just from a morale standpoint? I'm in touch with several of them. It's not like they feel they have security in their jobs, and they're already doing a public service for the country at a significant discount. These are individuals highly trained that could get paid a lot more money in different parts of the healthcare sector. And so who's going to want to stay when you don't know if you're going to be guaranteed the next paycheck, or if this is just going to keep happening again because of politics? So that's one. Two, I will just say they are playing with fire with critical parts of the CDC that look at emerging pathogens, the next Ebola as an example. And here's why it matters. This information is communicated by the CDC under normal Democratic and Republican administrations to local and state departments of health that then ultimately communicate to those of us caring for patients in ERs and ICUs across the country. Here's why it matters. It helps us understand what's happening with the patient in front of us. And so if we don't have those data inputs from the CDC, they don't come to us clinicians forming differential diagnoses, people will be harmed, and that's what's happening.
Dr. Gupta, I wanted to get your thoughts, if you can, and reflect here for a moment on the loss of confidence in the CDC as a trusted scientific data-based institution that many Americans, I would argue, maybe 10 years ago really had a lot of confidence in, but over the course of the last several years has been politicized, and now, as we've seen, has been decimated as a result of the actions by right-wingers in this country who have kind of denounced the CDC during the COVID era, and now, as you see, being gutted and losing some of its top scientists and data-driven analysts.
Yeah, amen. I would say that there's a very vocal, small minority of people, less than 20% based on polling, that don't believe what's coming out of the CDC. 82% of Americans believe in the childhood vaccine schedule that the CDC typically has endorsed. There's something that they just reduced a reduction in force. The editors of the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, and then had to reverse it because supposedly this chaos that the vice president references, they didn't understand what they were cutting. So a lot of what's happening here is they don't understand what they're cutting because the whole thing's been politicized. But MMWR, Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, just to give your viewers a sense here of what's happening, that is as esoteric and as nuanced clinical information for those of us caring for patients that exists. Number one. Number two, it's critical to actually understand, how do you understand what's happening with the patient in front of you that might be experiencing something novel or something new. This is what they're actually harming here. And again, 82% of Americans, several surveys have shown, support the CDC in its prior incarnation, and they don't want this.
Isn't it deeply ironic that Donald Trump is getting this healthcare and often hiding the healthcare he's getting while he's cutting healthcare for the working class, the people he pretends to care about? Isn't that just it? Like that? Isn't that MAGAism, but also the Republican Party typified? They want you to suffer while they benefit from society. They want the healthcare. They want to protect themselves, their fellow wealthy people. They want to protect their family, and they want you to suffer, and people like you. That's what they want. They want you to go every day without basic necessities while they get the care they need. Trump will take the shot. Trump will get the medicine. Trump will actually use the best science possible and the best doctors possible from the best universities possible. It goes into the thing where they tell you how college is a scam, they'll say, all these right-wingers. Most of them went to the best colleges in the country. They're going to send their kids to the best colleges money can buy. All of this to trick regular conservatives into dying younger. Oh, don't get the medicine. You don't need that. We're going to get it, though. Oh, you better believe Donald Trump is going to get the best care and hide it. Hide it for a couple reasons. One, because he doesn't want his own supporters to realize that the medicine that right-wingers have been attacking and RFK have been attacking is what the rich people get. But also he wants to hide it because fundamentally Donald is a sick man. He's not healthy. And part of staying in power as a wannabe dictator is hiding the fact that you're close to dying. Remember, Trump is not operating like a typical president. He's not. He's talked about wanting more than 2 terms. How serious he is, we'll never know, right? But he talks about staying in longer. He talks about himself less like a president and more like a king. And the problem with a king is when you're close to death, they start looking at the prince or princes and dukes and counts. And who's going to be the next king? Is it going to be the son of the king? Literally in this case, is it going to be one of his sons? Is it going to be the prince, the vice president, J.D. Vance? Or is it going to be a rival challenger? And the thing is, once people start thinking you're close to death, you're not really king anymore. You're just a roadblock to the next guy. And so Donald is going to hide his health troubles, both because he doesn't want his power challenged, and also because he doesn't want his regular supporters to want the health care that he gets.